Good Thursday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center taking a look at that current Doppler radar picture right now across North Florida and South Georgia. You can see what's going on, and that is a lack of showers and storms around. That's definitely some good news here as we're watching some of the different things in the Weather Center. I know there's still some flood warnings for some of the area rivers there, like the Santa Fe River at Fort White. So that's still something to keep an eye on, of course, because of all that antecedent rainfall that we saw here going back, looking back late last week there, getting a lot of that precipitation around, but things do look drier here overall as we're looking ahead in toward the timeline in general for the next 7 days. But there's still some concerns that we have to address here. We also have to keep an eye on Tropical Storm Fiona to some extent now. We're seeing some model trends that indicate that it could be some type of threat to parts of the continental U.S., but it's too early to nail anything down. Don't stress out about it here. We're not turning our logo red here at this point. Puerto Rico really needs to watch this very carefully, and we'll dive more into that here in just a moment. But you see Gainesville 77 degrees right now, Keystone 77, looking at my thermometer east of Starkville 75 degrees. I know this morning we got down to 69. Some of that cool, more refreshing air trying to come into the picture here again, like what we saw yesterday morning. I know up into parts of South Georgia, getting in those 50s. I know that's always great to see, just exciting for that part of the viewing circle. But as we look ahead in the timeline, these temperatures are going to stay a little bit cooler for a bit, though. We're going to start seeing those highs inch up toward those lower 90s, it looks like now, toward early next week. But again, we're going to be watching Fiona there as well. I know we're watching just quite a few different things there. We're going to see how Fiona may impact Puerto Rico, but we're also watching a system there, a former typhoon headed toward Alaska that could cause some pretty significant coastal flooding, maybe a historic type coastal flooding toward areas around Nome, Alaska. So that's a pretty big deal for those folks there as we're looking toward that part of the country. But again, just watching things here in terms of the overall weather picture. I mean, you already see 68 there in toward areas of South Georgia around Camilla, 69 Tifton. So kind of giving you guys an idea of some of that cooler air trying to come in toward the picture here on this Thursday. But I know you guys want to see a bunch of other things here in this segment. So let me go ahead and pop up these traffic cameras. First off, we'll start off in toward Jacksonville here. Giving you that Florida 511 perspective there, I-95 at Hendricks Avenue. Looking pretty calm out there right now. And then we'll take you down toward St. Johns County. And you'll see here as we look on the sky conditions pretty calm as well. A little bit of cloud cover, but again, things looking pretty good there. And then toward Gainesville and Alachua County, I know they're going to be taking on the University of Florida football team that is going to be taking on South Florida. Looks like they were looking at something there with these traffic cameras, but right now looking pretty clear into where this part of I-75 at least. And then as we look here toward parts of I-75 around Lake City, you see a pretty similar story as well. And then as we take you toward Tallahassee, I know the Seminoles, the reason I have my FSU tie on, they're going to be taking on Louisville, the Louisville Cardinals tomorrow night. I know the Noles haven't had that much recent success there against Louisville, but that's going to be a big showdown here as we're looking ahead in toward the timeline. A very big game going there toward parts of that state as we're looking not too far away from Ohio even, and the weather conditions look really good for that one though, and we'll see that full forecast here in just a moment. But let's go ahead and say you now some different things here in terms of that Doppler one more time across the region. I know there's one severe thunderstorm warning in the country right now. That's in Kansas there toward Clark and Meade counties there and toward that region. We're not really too concerned with that though. Watching some 60-mile-an-hour wind gust potential, and actual gust of 59 was reported there on a Kansas Mesonet station. But looking here right now in our show, I do want to pop up right now our rainfall forecast locally for the next 7 days. And you can see here, I don't have a specific graphic for it, but that Georgia-South Carolina game on Saturday, no rain expected for that one. So that's some good news for those Bulldog and Gamecock fans there. As we're looking there toward that part of the southeast, you see those lower rain chances in store. But as we're looking toward Florida here, northern Florida, you see a little bit of rain possible here in terms of those rain chances. Further south you go, though, the higher rain chances will be, and the higher amounts of precipitation will be possible as we're looking here what the weather prediction says here in their forecast. You see South Florida, maybe 3 inches of rain. Central Florida, you see maybe 2 inches. We'll still have to watch around Gainesville, though, and even Jacksonville, where some more games are here as we're looking ahead. I know not the Louisville game you see up there. They're looking dry as we see this a wide stretch of that drier air in store. But we'll get back to some of these forecasts here for these games in just a moment, and that full forecast here too. But I do want to break down the tropics because there is some interest in that, and there should be some interest in that based on what we're seeing with some of those model trends. Now we're not turning the logo red yet. There's not enough confidence in much of anything in terms of continental U.S. impacts. This very well could recover away from the U.S. That'd be some good news. Obviously, but we are going to be watching for Puerto Rico. That looks like there's going to be some impacts there already. A tropical storm watch in play there as we're going to go ahead and see some of these preparedness considerations now. So we're tracking Tropical Storm Fiona. The track uncertainty is high. Those models show a wide variety of scenarios, and a Puerto Rico impact is expected as model runs are showing a more concise conglomerate there. Toward that region versus more of a broadening of the model scenarios as we look later in the timeline. But it could be some type of impact, but we really don't know. It's just too big of a range to really even get into. Though any local effects, if this were to turn our way, would likely occur late next weekend toward next weekend. So just if it were to come this way, then that's when the timeline would probably suggest here that the local impacts would occur. But just in case, this is what we say in hurricane season, at the peak of any hurricane season, not because we have a storm or don't have a storm, but you just want to go and make sure that hurricane kit is up to date, and we're talking about a basic disaster supplies kit that does include water, non-perishable food, a battery-powered or hand-crank radio, a no-weather radio, flashlight, and a first aid kit. And you can get that full list there at ready.gov/kit. And then just stay tuned for further updates. Again, we really don't know what's going to happen, but you can get those track updates on the cloudweather.com homepage or at cloudweather.com/tropics. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty here, but here's that track from the National Hurricane Center now. Tropical Storm Watch includes Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We'll have another update from them in about an hour or so, which you'll be able to get there either at the National Hurricane Center website or at cloudweather.com, where we have this embedded on there. It'll update for you the latest track from the Hurricane Center. But max sustained winds in our latest update were at 60 miles an hour. The movement west at 14, and that minimum pressure only 1,005 millibars, meaning it's not a very deep, strong system right now. So in theory, that could help it get further west here. And that could end up becoming an issue later on. Now, if it gets really strong real quick, there's a chance it could turn more poleward here, and that would potentially be some good news for the U.S. But again, you just never know here in this type of situation. We do have on this track 60-mile-an-hour winds early on Sunday morning as we're looking here toward Puerto Rico. So there's the tropical storm watching that yellow there. If you look real close above my hand, and you see the 60-mile-an-hour winds right in this area right there. And then you see at the end of the 5 days, it'll be approaching hurricane strength, maybe in the vicinity of the Bahamas. We'll just wait and see here as we're looking, maybe in the vicinity there as we're looking out there in that region. But there's a lot of uncertainty. We just really don't know what's going to happen at this point because it's still early in the scenario here. I know. The models are still trying to get more data into them, and once they get more data into them, we'll probably get a more concise look at solutions. But I mean, there's solutions all over the place, from the Gulf of Mexico all the way out in the Atlantic, not even coming close toward the U.S. Continental U.S. Again, we're talking about Puerto Rico, though. Obviously, we have to watch our U.S. territory very carefully, and U.S. Virgin Islands as well. There is a tropical storm watch in play. Very well could see some tropical storm warnings in play down there. If this were to strengthen more quickly, maybe even hurricane watches or warnings not out of the question. So we got to watch for them. Of course, they had the big impacts from Maria, but as we go ahead and look at that sports weather now, you can see that high school football forecast there toward Friday night. Now we're going to try to switch over to a lighter topic again right now as we're looking toward the tropics. We're not expecting anything like Maria. Don't get me wrong, it's just a tropical storm forecasted for them for now, but tropical storms can still have big impacts here. But Bradford east side here, Gainesville, Florida there. Friday night, upper 70s, 40% chance of rain, some scattered showers and storms a possibility. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the radar here. There's a little higher chance there than in other parts of the viewing circle for this game. Hopefully my Bradford Tornadoes will get that victory. I know weather's really played a role though in some of the different games here. The Baker game being postponed, resuming in October. The Middleburg game, Bradford getting a win, but ending at halftime. So hopefully they get lucky. That's a lower chance than some of the other games. The models showing things maybe away from the game site there at Citizens Field in time for kickoff. But again, you just never know what could happen there. As we're looking toward that. And then toward Louisville, though, the weather looks good for that one. Upper 70s, actually kind of warm in some regard for that time of night, this time of year, I would say. But mostly clear conditions, not having to worry about precipitation at least toward that part of the country there. That 7:30 kickoff on ESPN up there in toward that region. You see the 2-0 Noles, the 1-1 Cardinals there. Roy Philpott underwear and Paul Carcaterra, the announcing team for that one. And then as we get toward the South Florida Bulls 1-1 and the Gators who are 1-1, they're also number 18 in the country. That game will be at 7:30 Saturday on the SEC Network. Tom Hart will be on that call along with Jordan Rogers and Cole Kublik. And we're talking about upper 70s there from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, a 50% chance of rain, scattered showers and storms, a possibility a little higher based on the modeling for this area. But again, we're not talking about the extreme chances like 60, 70. So that's some good news, but you definitely can't rule out something here with these type of chances. So keep an eye on that radar, cloudweather.com/radar, or your favorite radar app there. Those can be helpful in this type of situation as well. I know I use Radar Scope. That's something that's really helpful to kind of get a gauge on where the lightning is if you're traveling. If you zoom in, it is an app you have to pay for. But as we look here toward that Sunday now, you can see here 1 p.m. Sunday on CBS. The Jaguars taking on the Colts there. TIAA Bank Field. You can see mid-80s to 40% chance of rain for this one. Chance of rain or storms, and we will actually have to worry about maybe some breezier conditions here. Northeastern wind there. And we'll just have to see if that affects the kicking game. I know both teams have had some kicking issues. Colts actually cutting their kicker this week, so we'll just have to see how the kicking kind of impacts things. Jaguars kicker there missed one, but made a few other ones there up toward DC back on Sunday. So let's again see how things are going. But as we look here toward that planning forecast, you can see 87 degrees tomorrow, 87 on that Saturday, 88 on Sunday. You can see these temperatures going up here in the timeline. You see these upper 60s, lower 70s. The story for the lows about what you'd expect for this time of year. But then as we look ahead, don't have really any elevated rain chances for it yet. But we are going to keep our eyes here on Fiona. You just never know what could happen in this type of scenario here. The models are kind of all over the place still. I don't want to rule any scenario out really at this point. I mean, you have to kind of wait for the model guidance to get a better let me try that again, a better handling on things here. So again, we'll just continue to watch this scenario here as we do continue to watch things here in the Weather Center. But let's go ahead and move away from the graphics right now. You can see here that radar view again, seeing things pretty calm. Have a little bit of shower accident in southern Marion County as we zoom in there, just really right on the edge there of the viewing area. And then as we kind of look on over now, you can kind of see more rain to the south, and then a little bit of rain there right on that Flagler Volusia County line as we're getting closer toward Daytona Beach there. So just kind of giving you guys an idea of what's going on from that standpoint. But we'll keep our eyes on that scenario there as we're looking toward parts of Puerto Rico. If we need to stream the radar for that, we very well could do that, just maybe on YouTube, something like that. So just look for that there, and we'll probably prompt you to come over to that, maybe a YouTube exclusive, but prompting you from Facebook, Twitter, to kind of look at some of that streaming there of the Doppler, just depending on how well-defined things get with this system and what the impact look like down there, because all eyes could end up being on Fiona next week, but again, it could become more obvious. It's going to recurve away, and that'd be some good news for everybody here. But again, we're watching things carefully. I'll zoom out real quick on this. We'll put on some of our satellite information. We're going to do this on the fly. I wasn't planning on doing this, but You can see some of our models have it more going in a poleward direction, but you can just kind of see here we're looking at some of this accent how it could end up getting closer toward Puerto Rico, but our system out here, it looks pretty well organized. You see what we're doing with some of the Hurricane Hunter aircraft in there as well, getting some information. So that'll be kind of helpful in this scenario as well. So there's Fiona right there. We'll keep our eyes on it here, but right now we're just not sure exactly what's going to happen. But just stay tuned from the Weather Center as we'll keep you guys informed. There's San Juan, and there is Fiona as we're looking toward Puerto Rico with likely impact. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see, though, how this kind of tracks toward period past that 5-day range as things could kind of change around on us here because the models are still in an uncertain situation, uncertain scenario kind of shaping up for us overall. Have a great night.